Hello, one and all, and welcome to another episode of Baggers Chat. My name is Mitch Pattinson, and as always, we are joined by Ethan Daffy. And tonight, we are previewing our Round 10 clash, Sydney v Carlton at the SCG, Friday, 16th of May. Daffy boy, we're just coming off a win against the Saints. Great way to respond after the Crows game in round 8.
Yep.
But now heading into this week, I think we're both very confident heading into this week against the Swans, not only because the Swans are missing a few players, but also the way that we played last week. We're confident. We can only be confident because we like to support the team more than be negative.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can try and get the 4 points this week. But first things first, mate, how are you?
No, I'm good. The game of the weekend was a grind. They challenged us in a way that we haven't been challenged this year in terms of that whole game style, and I think we almost beat them at their own kind of game style, and we were harder at the footy in the end for me. That's just my opinion in that, fourth quarter. I just think we hunted the footy more than they did. They were probably knackered after defending for 3 quarters. So, yeah, this week's exciting. Friday night, I said to you before, we recorded. We've played Sydney at this time of the year for the last 3 years, and we have failed the challenge. And it didn't matter if we were 8-2, whatever. Even if we were in the top 4, whatever, we failed this challenge. Last year, we kicked the first 4 goals of the game. We lost by 10 goals. So it's something we haven't done for a while. 2019 was the last time we beat them over there. Since then, it's really not been great at all, has it? We've had some absolute shockers, not firing a shot in any of those games. And if we're being serious about ourselves, if we want to have some sort of impact later in the year, we've got to win this game of footy. And we haven't yet shown enough consistency for me that we were crying out for at the start of the year. So this is, they're 14th. They're still the Swans. They've got a good culture. I know on the weekend they would have been disappointed. They finished it off well, the game. I almost hope they won that game. So they almost felt like they got a win, and then they didn't feel like so backs against the wall. But they're crying out for a win, and we've got to really just get the job done this week.
Yeah, it's a very funny one about the Swans, and obviously we know that heading into this year they have Cox taking over the reins from John Longmire, and it's a. Do you think it's purely down to the kind of change of the coaching? Because Cox has obviously been there for a few years now, so he obviously knows what he's doing, and the players know what to expect from him. But a quick one about the Swans, what do you think the downfall to their? Or we don't know how the season will end up because we all obviously know how good of a side they are. But right now in this point in time, what do you think is the reasoning behind their somewhat downfall? Because we looked at the ladder, they're 14th on the ladder. Yeah. That is a pure downfall.
It's just, I think, I don't want to talk, they've got some good personnel. I just don't think it's good enough at the moment. I'm looking down their list. I'm not having a go at these players, but guys like Ben Patton, he's a guy who got delisted at St Kilda. Mick's playing a half back. Throwing guys like Hamling and Francis forward. I just feel like it's a little bit makeshift. And I know they've got the injury with Goulden, and people can talk about that, but they're 14th on the ladder, Patto. If one guy being injured, of course he's probably let's be real, one of their best players, if not their best player, Errol Goulden, in terms of, he probably is their best player, in my opinion. So it's a massive out, but they just seem to not be, I don't know. I don't know if it's the coaching thing might be, but like you said, they've known Cox. They came off a big grand final loss, which is never good either for teams. I feel they always have a slow start to the year, but it's got to round 10, Patto, and they just seem to not really be out of first gear. They had a big win against North a few weeks ago, but other than that, they beat the Giants last week, which was a good win. So clearly they know how to play on their home deck, which is my kind of little bit of a worry. We haven't been able to play on that ground. But, in terms of the Swans, I just think it's the personnel a little bit. If you're playing guys like Francis, Cleary, I know, you know what I mean? Like, it's you're starting to test your depth for me. Even the other Warner brother. Well, let's be real.
Corey, yep.
He's not that good. Like he's I've made the joke about it that they signed him onto the club to try and keep his brother, but I still think there's a little bit of something about that.
Mm.
Just like it's a little bit like, okay, we'll feed a guy who played under 10 games last year in the ones, a 2-year deal. And, it's a bit fishy for me. I feel like they're keeping him around to try and, keep Chat around for the long term.
Well, I mean, it's a good point when you look at it
Yeah.
because, as you said, he hasn't played a lot of senior football, and last year,
Mm.
he didn't play a senior game or maybe a sub
Yeah, yeah,
one
yeah.
one or two weeks. But you kind of look at the side now, and you mentioned
Mm.
there about Ben Patton, and we don't want to speak about any players that can come back and bite us in the bum. But
Yeah,
even like an
of
Angus
course.
Sheldrick, who was a sub last week, and
Yeah.
he came on and made an impact. But the
Yeah.
players that they hopefully would have expected to kind of evolve as a
Mm.
like a senior footballer just aren't evolving as to what they probably would have liked.
Yeah.
And I think Sheldrick is one of those. Matt Roberts is playing a good role at the moment, but Sam Wicks in the back line, fuck me. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
players like that I just don't think they're really
Mm.
like they would have hoped a little bit more out of these
Yeah.
guys, and probably like a
Yeah.
Braden Campbell as well. They were expecting him to be
Yes.
like at heart. Yeah, it's just that
They're
I don't
not
know how to
there.
explain it.
I agree. I think we were at a certain point in probably 2021 or
100%.
2020 where or 19 it probably, where it was like, okay, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
are they going to get there or are we just being false? Like Petrescu Seaton, Paddy Dow, Lockie O'Brien. They're exactly like it's those types of players where you go, we need them to take the next step. And they're not fucking taking it. You know what I mean? Like, it's like they're just not taking it. And then they're still relying on, well, Blakey could be out because at the end of the game on the weekend, he had a
Yes.
concussion test. And I hope he's okay, but I might have punched the air when I saw him get out of the rooms with 5 minutes to go because I saw him got hit by Merritt
Yeah.
in the head. I've gone, oh no, like that could be concussion. And in the back of my head, I'm going, next week. I was going, oh fuck! Like I'm, not wishing anything, but I was like, it could be a blessing in disguise for us. So I haven't had any updates on that or anything. I guess you probably tomorrow's we're filming this on Monday, so the updates come tomorrow. But I'm not saying fingers crossed he misses, but if he misses a week, I'm not going to be complaining, Pato.
Yeah, well, we already spoke about the backline pre-episode before we press record, and
Yeah.
we've already mentioned a few times about how their backline isn't looking overly great, and they've got two makeshift forwards at the moment. I mean,
Yeah.
like, what do you call that? Like when they're forward, you call them makeshift forwards because they're actually defenders.
Yeah.
It's
So they're
just
not. Like I guess Aaron Francis has played it probably, obviously more than Hamling.
yeah,
Hamling's
well,
a
yeah,
defender. But yeah, both of them are very like it, more of a pinch hit type forwards. Like they're just going in there to fill a hole, and they have to. They've got injuries to Amadi and Logan McDonald, which doesn't help at all. But like even then, I still think it's a massive issue for the Swans. I know this is not Swans chat, but I feel like their midfielders covered their scoring last year a lot.
yeah, 100%.
Heaney, Warner, Goulden, they'd be all combining for like 5 or 6 goals every game. So that cuts the work for guys like McLean and Amadi, and now they don't have Goulden in the team, and Warner hasn't had that. Like he's been better the last few weeks, but he hasn't had that 2-3 goal performances, which he seems to do. So knowing Carlton would probably let him do that, but it's more like they just don't have that. I don't want to jinx it though.
Yeah. But we look at the forward line as well for the Swans, and also there's no Papley in there as well. So there are a few players.
That's it. Yep.
There are a few players now that are out, like with Gordon and then also
Yeah.
Callum Mills as well, the captain.
Yeah.
And I think James Rowbottom is now the standing captain at the moment. For the Swans, which is a bit of an issue one, definitely from my point of view.
But yeah. The thing about their team is they've still got guys who know how to win games of footy,
exactly
which
right.
I think is also always crucial. McCartan, Rampy, Blakey, Heaney, guys like Jake Lloyd, Hayward, and Warner. Like they've got enough guys there that can get the job done. So it's not going to be a walkover. And people listening, we're not having a go at them, but we're just more speaking about compared to their team last year and their output. It's just a significant drop.
Yeah. No, I mean, what can we say? Like we aren't speaking fully about the Swans because Carlton haven't experienced anything in bloody years, mate. So
Yeah.
I completely agree with what you're saying, and I think we kind of want the Swans to be a little bit better than what they are, because I think the talent on their list is actually
Mm,
quite extreme, and I feel like if they can get their list together and get their chemistry right under Cox, I think they can be really good,
yeah.
and hopefully kind of replace the best team in the competition like Collingwood at the moment, and kind of move those talks out of the
Mm.
way, because I'm kind of fucking over that at the moment about the Pies being spoken about the best team in the competition. But we'll move away from the Pies at the moment, mate. But let's now move on, Duff Boy, to the injury list. And there are a few updates. I mean, there's a few names on the list, but we haven't got the official updates from the AFL because, as you said, we are recording this on Monday night, and the injury list usually comes out probably Tuesday midday. If not,
Yep.
they actually send out the list on Tuesday night. So this is kind of more a educated guess. Educated guess from our point of view,
Yep.
with what we can kind of see. And there are a few players that are expected to be back. So let's just touch on a few players now, Daffy Boy. And Govan Cowan, injuries from the Saints game. So Cowan looks to be a little bit more serious, and he looks to have a
Yeah.
stint on the sidelines, which is quite frustrating, especially
Mm.
since he's coming back from a soft
Yeah.
tissue injury anyway.
Yeah.
So I think he probably needs to have a few weeks, maybe give him to the bye to just manage him
Yeah.
up until that point. But also, Gov, as you mentioned, it doesn't seem like there's much damage there. So he actually
No.
could be featured this week, which is a good sign. Alex Chincotta is set to return from a hip injury. And before we move on to any other names, Daffy Boy, I'll actually touch on Chincotta right now, and I'll ask you a question. Do you think we would start him in the VFL and probably manage him up to the bye, or do you think he's actually quite important at the moment to come into the senior side?
No, I think he's missed too much footy to come in, and also I'm not sure where he fits at the moment. I think it might be off a half back, maybe if in that kind of with Carroll spot or something like that, because he's a pretty handy user and he's a really really good defender. So yeah, it's just play him in the twos, dominate, get some touch, and then put up his hand for selection. And if he gets selected, he gets selected. But it's depth, and that adds. The good thing about him is, especially last year in that kind of round 12 to round 17 patch of footy where we were playing really well, he filled a few of the injuries we had, or players who are out of form. Like if someone was out of form, he'd go at half forward. You know what I mean? Like, and he'd play that kind of half forward, but be around the stoppage type player, especially when he went half forward a lot of times, and then go and tag the mid, like which I really love, because then you end up actually having an extra guy at the stoppage. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they're looking at. Like we say, I'd love to be a fly on the wall or just be inside the brain of Michael Voss and the coaching staff and seeing where he is at, because they had the decision to play Sauce down back. We didn't think that was going to happen, so it's it's exciting to have someone back like that, and a few guys coming back as well.
So if Chincotta was set to come back into the side, and I mean,
Mm.
I think we both have the same opinion about this, that
Yeah.
we probably see him more as a replacement for an injury. I don't think he's going to be
Yeah.
in the best 22 or best 23, all due respect
Yeah.
to him, obviously. But if he was to come back into the side and there isn't a lot of injuries, what role is what type of position? Because he can play any position.
Mm.
What role do you think you want him to play if he was to come back into the senior side, knowing that there's no injuries?
Yes.
It's a tough one.
It is a tough one. We speak about the midfield depth as well. If we want to add a tagger rather than have George tagging.
Yep.
But yeah, I think he's more of a halfback, being a cannibal on one of the fifth or sixth forward, the smalls. He's a good competitor, which I like. Similar to Cowan, they compete really well. And he's fit. He's got speed. He's got size. Any team can would cry out for a guy like that. He's not a superstar, but he's a nice role player. So it's good to have him back, because went to training, not today. There was an open training today, but a few weeks ago, and he was running really well, and that was 3-4 weeks ago now. So I'd imagine he's ready to go.
Yep. Which is good to hear, because
Mm.
as you just mentioned, I think he is a really good player to he's a good player to have in the VFL or AFL.
Yes.
I just
Yep.
think having him around the rooms actually playing, I think
Yep.
that's something that we've kind of lacked. And if he's dominating in the VFL, we can always fall back knowing that Chincotta can come into the senior side
Yep.
and make an impact. But the other names that we'll touch on, Daffy Boy, is Matt Cottrell. He's still a month or so away, which is so frustrating. He's recovering from that ankle injury. So hopefully he is tracking well, because I think we are missing his run and spread off the wing, but also half forward quite a lot. The other name I'll touch on as well before I touch on a certain name, I know, I'm pretty sure you know exactly who I'm going to talk about, but before I do touch on him, it's Zach Williams. He probably should be a test come this week. But before we move on to our last name, do you fly him up to Sydney to play this week, or do you think we simply manage him till either the week after against the Giants, or do we even hold off until even the bye, and then when we come back in round 13? Is that probably something that you would be doing with Zach Williams? Because right now his body's not up to it at the moment.
Yeah, it's not. And it's costing us games when he gets injured in game. I know the Geelong game it didn't cost us, but in the past it has. You know, him and guys like Jack Martin, when he used to play for us, like they go out early in a game and you're just one down. Like, you can't really afford to do that.
Yeah.
It's not his fault. It's not his fault. But like you said, it's just not. His body just seems to just fail at certain points, especially that calf or Achilles issues he kind of seems to be having. So, yeah, I'm not risking him this week. I don't want to be rocking up this week at the SCG, sitting in my chair and going, oh, you know, Zach Williams, if he's out at quarter time, who do we bring on? And also, does he get in? He maybe over a Motlop, maybe. But then they're playing Motlop through the middle. Does Williams' body have the ability to play through the middle? Probably not. I guess I reckon Cooper Lord's a big chance to play the full game.
Oh, 100%.
This week. I think we needed another guy through there. But also, Chera won't be playing at half back. So that'll give him more minutes. And that was forced. Like, he had to do it. Someone had to do it. You know, you're not going to put Cripps at half back. So, it's a lot of just questions around those guys. Like, do you bring them in? Do you risk them? But yeah, maybe, like you said, maybe you do give him at least a week just to get right, train fully contact, and then he goes into the Giants game not worrying about his body, and you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of confidence as well. It's a big mental thing.
Yeah, I do agree. And we kind of had to think about Williams right now, and if he is actually, we will touch on it at the end of the year, obviously with trade talk, but right now I think he needs to actually prove to himself that he can play senior football consistently, but also more importantly to the club. And that might be one of those players that if we want to sign Tom DeConning away, that might be one of the players that say, yep, thank you for your services, we're going to move you on. Because right now it's at a point in time where I actually think I want to give him the opportunity to play senior football because of that reason. But also that's not really the right reason, because this is what we were doing in 2020, 2021 stuff.
Yeah, giving games.
Exactly. Gifting players games, like these players that like are somewhat serviceable. But if a guy like Will White is doing his role, then I don't think you can drop him.
No.
Jesse Motlop played, I mean, we've been speaking about Motlop a few times, but I think his last quarter was...
He's lucky. He's getting very lucky.
Very lucky.
Very lucky. But like we've both said, you know, if we're going to stick to someone playing, I'd rather stick to him playing than Frank Evans, in terms of potential. I know, you know, you're not going to be giving games to guys on potential, but if you're going to give a guy an extra chance and make him a bit lucky, you'd rather beat a young fella than, you know, Frank Evans. But, you know, it's going to be interesting as well with Fogarty.
Yep. Oh, that's another name that we obviously need to touch on. But the last name that we will touch on, Daft Boy, is a certain player. We probably wouldn't have expected to see this guy very soon, but Nick Newman. Now, there was a certain post today from Carlton FC. You sent it to me, and I was doing some work, and I got a little bit distracted, Daft Boy, dare I say it, when I saw it.
We all got distracted from whatever we were doing.
I couldn't believe it, and I was going through the comments, and a lot of people were saying, "Is this an old post about Nick Newman?" Which I had a bit of a giggle about. But he looks like he's doing some contact training, which is very good. So usually I mean, knowing injuries and how they all work, usually when you do contact training after a long-term injury, you're usually a month away. About
Yeah.
3 to 4 weeks is usually the time period. So now on the injury list, he's TBC. That could turn into 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And if I
Yeah.
can see a timeline,
Oh,
that's when
yeah.
I get excited.
Mate,
So
what I'm thinking when he's coming back, Wiedering, Silvani, Haynes, Newman, McGovern. But also, like I've heard things as well. Like, can you fit all those guys in?
mm,
That's my question. Like, I think they're all good enough. But when
100%.
you're playing against Brisbane, when you're playing against far sides, I don't know if we can
Probably
play them
isn't.
all.
Mm.
Someone might have to make way, Patto. I don't know who it's going to be. I really don't. And this is not like Lewis Young's out of the equation here, so he's not involved in this. But like, if you go Haynes, McGovern, Newman, and Silvani, like it's probably a bit big. And I don't know who, like someone would have to be dropped. But like they seem to be going with it, but I don't know if we can. Like in a final, those little guys are so important. And then, but I think also, I think it might have been Jimmy Bartell talking about this, who's often very, very good. And he's,
Yeah.
but the way he was kind of speaking about it was Haynes and McGovern can't really defend smalls. But I think that's wrong.
Mm.
I think that's wrong. So it's going to be an interesting discussion when all those guys play, to see how it all runs.
Yeah, well, because when I look at it, I probably
Mm,
want probably 7 defenders. So if you go
yeah,
through them,
yeah,
Wettering,
yeah,
Haynes,
yeah,
Silvani,
yeah,
McGovern, Sard, Newman, that's
yeah,
6. And you don't
yeah,
include Ollie, you don't include
yeah,
like
yeah,
Cowan is actually
yeah. So the
serviceable as
seventh, the
well.
seventh, the seventh might be on the bench. Hollands,
Probably Ollie,
Ollie,
yeah.
yeah,
You probably
you
could.
know,
You probably could play them all.
yeah. You can play all those guys. My worry is just the talls. Like,
Yeah, I completely
I think
agree.
we've actually been too tall this year because we've kind of had to sometimes. But you know what I mean? I feel like it's just sometimes we're just a little bit tall. But
Mm.
when we play teams that don't have a focal point, I think it was similar with, like Collingwood. Like I know they have the talls, but they don't have a Charlie and Harry. Like it's so unpredictable. They got McCreary's. Like, can we handle those teams in games later in the year? Hopefully that we're playing in.
Yeah, I completely agree. But Dave Boy, let's now move on
Yep.
to the ins and outs, and we'll touch
Yep.
on a player that we probably both would bring in Lockie Fogarty if he is available to play. But
Yep.
I'll let you go first for the ins and outs plus the sub because I want to see what you say, and then I'll touch on mine. But your ins and outs, mate, what have you got?
Yeah, it's simple. I've got Gavin just because he has no damage, and they seemed very optimistic on the injury update on the Carlton website. So that's often a good sign. They don't give you much sometimes, and they seem to be really going, he's okay, he's
Yeah, which is
okay.
good.
I
Yeah.
think they were trying to get themselves a bit out of the clear as well. But ins for me, Fogarty and Matt Carroll are in for me, and they're just going to be replacing Frank Evans and the injured. Who was the other guy? Cowan.
Cowan.
He just forgot. He didn't cross my mind. But I am changing the sub. So with Fogarty coming in, I will be putting Jesse Motlop into the sub position
Mm-hmm.
and starting Cooper Lord in the 22. So he'll get those midfield minutes. And yeah, that's it for me. And I just feel like Cooper Lord, let's be real, he's playing too good. He came on, I think, at quarter time. In those 3 quarters, he played very solidly. And I saw that vision Carlton posted of him running from defence
Yep.
into forward to kick that goal. And he just got something about him since he joined the club, Patto. And I think you think the same thing. It's just something there, and it's not untapped. It's not untapped, but I feel like he's going to have one of those games where you go, okay, he's the future, and he's close mates with Jagger, and I feel like those guys are the guys that are going to take that next, layer of midfield for the next 5-10 years. Not now, but the next kind of layer. When Walsh is 28, and then Cooper Law's 24, and Jagger's 23, and Cody Walker's and that are getting drafted through that under that. So yeah, it's exciting. But yeah, those are my changes.
Thinking about Sam Walsh being 28.
Yeah,
Fuck.
still like a 28. It's young.
Yeah, exactly.
So
right.
he's still got a while to go, but like with Cripps, time flies, man. And he's not that old, Cripps,
No.
either. So yeah, it's still in a very good position in my opinion, age wise. People say we're a little bit older. I think that's just because of the fact that sometimes we play Doherty and guys like that. But yeah,
And the best team in the competition right now, Collingwood, is one of the oldest teams out there. 2022, Geelong won the premiership, and they had their age profile of, I think it was like over 30. So,
yeah.
I mean, you can look at it as, yeah, they're old, but you can also look at it as, yeah, their experience as well.
Yeah.
So, I know which way to look at it, but I definitely look at it as the sports science has really improved over the past probably decade. And I feel like players now, like you see, I think we mentioned a few weeks ago actually about LeBron James playing it and he's 40. And I just feel like now players are able to kind of manage their bodies a lot better and play to probably mid-30s and beyond.
And with Collingwood, I kind of have a laugh about the whole old thing. Also, they rave on about it. Their own supporters rave on.
Yeah, they do.
When Sidebottom won the Anzac medal, they spoke about him like he's 38. He's 33.
Yeah, I know.
Like Pendles is 37. They put those two in the same.
Yeah.
Like it's a 4-year difference. I know he's old and he's 33 and he's probably the best 33-year-old at the moment. But they just rave on about it every time they win. It's like, fuck me.
Yeah.
It's the experience.
Yeah.
Like the game on the weekend, they should not have won that game. The 30 less inside 50s, every single stat went the wrong way. I'm not saying, but it's the clinical kicking experience. Jamie Elliott kicked 6. He's 32. When the time comes to kick a goal, they kick a goal, those blokes. You know what I mean? They do the right thing. There's a 50-50 contest, penalty reverse, whoever. He spins out of it and then he hits a target.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like that's, like you said, it's the experience. And that's why Nick Newman, the addition of him, whenever he comes back, will be enormous. He is the leader in that defense with Wiedering. And imagine him with Haynes and stuff.
Fuck.
You know what I mean? Like that, it's a very, very promising outlook on it. And that's why this next month is so crucial. So then we can attack the back half of the year, probably post round 15, which is, we've got a nice draw.
Yeah.
The next 5-6 weeks. We admit that. But you still got to win those games. But when you get to round 16, then you get Newman back, and then you're set in stone to play teams like Port Adelaide away and those tougher games. So it's important. This week's huge.
Yeah, it is so big.
Every week is. Every week is.
Yeah, but yeah, as you said, this week is massive, and you've got the Giants week after, and then heading into the bye, we could be 6-5. Like we're 4 wins, 5 losses at the moment. But if we can get the job done this week, we can head into the Giants 5-5. We know that we kind of had the wood over them the past few years, especially in Melbourne. And I think, that can be. It's a huge game this week to kind of set the season, because I reckon if we find a way to not get the job done with their injuries.
And then on the ropes against the Giants, then that game is like almost make or break. Like you can still go from 4-7, but it's almost too far gone if you lose the next 2. It's too hard, because then you got, we'll always be backing them in, but it's more like, do we really want to be just getting over the line in the 8 again? Do we really want to be doing that? I think we have the opportunity not to do that.
Yeah, completely agree, Daffy boy. Let's now move on to my ins and outs. But yeah, I mean, I completely agree with your ins and outs, and they're pretty similar. But I'm making a move that I'm not 100% sold on, but I'm also open to it for other reasons. So I'll start off with the ins. Matty Carroll comes in, Lockie Fogarty as well, and Cooper Lord is being upgraded from the sub last week to play a full game. I think he needs to play a full game.
It's getting ridiculous.
Yeah, it's getting ridiculous, and I actually feel bad for him, because he should be I think I mentioned a few weeks ago about we should drop him to not
Yeah.
drop him, but to play VFL so he can actually play some football
Yeah.
and actually develop because he's still a very, very young footballer. But hopefully this week we can actually see him play a full game. But my out, so I'll go Cowan, which we don't know exactly how long the stint, how long he's set for a stint on the sidelines, but you would expect him to not play this week. Frankie Evans as well will be omitted. Nothing against him, just I don't think he's good enough to be in the best 22. No. Now my last one, now that I've paused, you probably know that what I'm going to say. Jacob Wiedering managed.
Yep.
Reasonings. Lewis Young is dominating at the moment with the type of football. He's probably in career best form at the moment.
Yeah,
I really will say that.
Yep.
And I don't know if that's because he's playing forward under a role that he kind of has no sort of.
I am liking him up forward. I'm quietly liking.
I do as well.
I'm quietly liking it, Patto, but continue. Sorry.
Yeah, I think I like him as a second ruck. More importantly, like that second ruck and him playing that, I really do like that. But
it's so intriguing because you got him and Harry. I love Harry in the guts.
Yeah,
because that's how he gets his 20 touches and his hands on the ball. And he was in there. How good is he when he takes the ball out of the ruck? It's because he's always against the second ruck. Like, who's the second ruck for Sydney?
Probably McLean.
Yeah, true. There you go.
I mean, no, but seriously though, like I think, I don't know, like I know that Laddams has been the second ruck for a few times this season, but I think I'd rather have McLean as their second ruck. And I think he's serviceable, but I wouldn't go any more than that. And I think Harry Mackay can well and truly hold his own against McLean. But also Grundy, like if it's Grundy versus Mackay, fuck me.
He hasn't been lighting the house on fire. Like he's had a few good games, but he is one to watch because I feel like we sometimes let those guys off the hook.
Yeah, exactly right. But I'll just quickly end with what I was about to say with Weeders Daffy Boy. And so more importantly, I think it's more Lewis Young going back, and I know I really like him up forward. So that this definitely is something that I'm not sold on. Yeah, but it's something that we could definitely bring up. He didn't look himself last week with the way that he was moving. He was still very much serviceable. My God, he's playing Jacob Wiedering. But the week before, he obviously got injured, and there are a few a few players now that are playing their role. You bring in Matt Carroll. I think you can take the week. This week is probably the week to say, where does your manage? More importantly, because I don't think there's any genuine threats down in the forward line for the Swans. And that's all due respect to the Swans. They have a hell of a lot of injuries. There's no Papley, there's no Amadi, there's no McDonald, and they have Francis and Hamling playing up forward. And I feel like if McCartan does swing forward, he can still cover. And I'm more saying send McCartan up forward because that means that you've got Mackay up against. I mean, Blakey might not have even been playing.
Yes, so that's the thing.
Literally, they literally will have to send probably Hamling or Francis back. And I'm sorry if you've got Hamling or Francis against Curnow or Mackay, it's crazy. But before I throw to you with your opinion about all of this, it's more. I think it's more to give him a week off. For Hogan the week after though, because it's more important. I think that's the genuine. That's the first matchup in a while that there's been a genuine key forward that Wiedering can match up on. That is a big threat because we know how good Hogan is. He's the reigning common medalist. So your thoughts on all this? I know it probably isn't a thing that will happen because we can't really be having the ego of, we'll just manage one of our best players. But your thoughts, more importantly, about Lewis Young playing, kind of replacing Wiedering at the moment. What are your thoughts overall?
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's not a ego thing. It's more like it's not having a go at their forward line, but it's not like they have someone we have to have Wiedering in there for. Yeah. But then, it's tough because like it'd fill me with so much more confidence if he's out there. And I know like the managing and Collingwood would do it and blah, blah, blah. But like when he's out of the side, we lose a lot of the intercepting ability.
Yes.
And it's also, if he's not playing on someone that good, that's when he takes his marks. Yeah. Wiedering. And I know Lewis Young can do that, absolutely. And I agree. And he wasn't 100%. So I'm fingers crossed he's had the week and he's okay. He was good, but I could notice it. He was just a noticeable thing. that he just wasn't moving at 100%. And I'm pretty sure everyone is not at 100% right now in terms of the competition. That's football. But like you said, he had the injury a few weeks ago where he kind of had to play because it's Geelong, and you know what I mean. Like it builds up and builds up and builds up. So maybe he needs just that circuit breaker to face Hogan, who was brilliant yesterday against an undersized defence. So, if you play Wiedering this week, if he gets a corky, then you have to miss against the Giants. But
Yep.
Lewis Young did the job on Hogan last year against the Giants. I did check before. It's a good card to have, the Lewis Young one, in my opinion. And I agree. If he's managed, I'll back him in.
Yeah, it's well said. Was Young playing when we went over to the Giants and lost that game? Was Young playing? I don't think he was.
I don't know, but he played it in the Marvel one because I
Yes.
remember Jesse Hogan punched him in the face.
Yes, I remember that.
So I don't think Wiedering played in that game. I'm pretty sure. He had it. I don't know what he had, but I remember we were all going, "Oh fuck!" Like Hogan, and then Lewis Young got the job done. So yeah, he can get the job done.
Yeah.
He's been getting the job done anyway.
Yeah.
But like I said before, for some weird reason, I'm liking him as that third decoy up the line kick because he just provides a contest.
Yeah, he does.
And he's kicking his goals. Like he can push, Harry can get his 20 touches. Charlie can push up the ground. And Lewis Young can sit in the goal square if he has to, and vice versa. So and against a team with McCartan, Rampy, I don't know if they've got other guys I'd imagine they'd probably have depth stock. I'm not entirely sure, but
not really.
Or Milliken's suspended.
Exactly.
He's the other one. So, and if Blakey's out, like you almost go, Lewis Young, you're playing forward, mate. We're gonna have the three tall forwards, but then the conditions.
It's raining. Yep.
The conditions. Maybe that's when you put Lewis Young in the twos this week. I don't know. It's tough, but I don't think it's going to be pissing down. But I did see that it might be a little bit chewy. I feel like every time we play them,
it's all
there's a quarter that's drizzling, and then the ball starts slipping, and we start butchering it.
My good girl. Yeah, I'm just thinking about it. I'm like, I just don't know. This is I don't looking at 23 without Wiedering. I'm like,
yeah,
fuck, there's something missing.
I know.
So it's a big one, but it's something that I'm happy to put out there, and I feel like the reasonings behind it is somewhat valid, but to not play a Wiedering is pretty scary. But hopefully, so with Malikan, how many weeks is that?
It was 3. Yeah, it was 3.
Okay, so he's not playing this week. Good.
Yeah.
At least he's not playing this week. But you mentioned there about the depth. I don't reckon they have much depth after this now because they've got Francis and Hamling, who are the depth.
Yes, they are, and they're not even playing in their proper position.
Exactly.
Yeah. So. It's a gold, like you said before. We can't afford to drop this game. And I'm not saying we're favourites. Well,
we should be.
We should be. Like, we've got to be confident. I know people will be clipping this up, blah, 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 if we lose. But we're just putting the challenge out there to these players. They have to get the job done this week. If they want any sort of say this year in anything later in the year, we've got to win this game, move on, head to the tough task next week at Marvel Stadium.
Yep. Exactly right, Dave Boy. Before we move on to the opposition watch, I just mentioned my sub. I'm going to go with Jordan Boyd. I don't like it at all. Yep. I think I mentioned Sam Doherty last week as my sub. I mean, it's a very. I think I like your sub with Motlop playing a little bit more because you can bring him on if it is a little bit wet, and say if we're playing Lewis Young up forward and it's not working, you can bring Motlop on. So I'm going to play Boyd more importantly because I want him to get some game time.
Yeah.
But also, if we want him to get some game time, the coaching staff know better, and there must be a reason that he's not.
Yeah.
There must be something that he's not doing in the VFL that Voss isn't liking. So I'm only putting him as sub because I think I want him in the side, but I'm just not sure because I think Carroll is well and truly going to be playing over Boyd at the moment. But I think that could just be a good sub to bring on, especially if it is a little bit wet and you need a bit of ball movement from the defensive 50. But Dave Boy, let's now move on to the opposition watch. So for the people that don't know what this is, we go through backline, midfield, and forward line for the opposition, which is obviously the Swans this week, and touch on each player, which might be a threat come this Friday at the SCG, 7:40, 30, 40. 30?
I'm not sure.
We worked that out, don't worry. But as we always do, let's start off with the backline opposition watch, mate. For the Swans, we've just mentioned a few names there that might not feature with Blakey not being there. But other than that, there's not a hell of a lot of threats down there, dare I say it. But your opposition watch, what have you got?
Let's hope the players know the starting time of the game. Let's hope they do. Yeah, they've got a lot of guys who can kick in their defense. That's the way I kind of look at their defense, and that hurts too, because sometimes you have guys who are good kicks but aren't necessarily great defenders. So my opposition watch, I'm not going to go to the keys. I am going to go with Riley Bice, and I think this is not saying he dominates. And I think everyone, they were talking about him because he came from the VFL and he's good, like he's solid. But I think we can exploit players like him in terms of making him work both ways. Like Corey Durden needs to have another one of those games, in my opinion, that he needs to get going. He was almost my sub for this game, but just purely because Motlop's just been struggling to get going, he's my sub. But yeah, a guy like Riley Bice, don't let him dictate the ball. Like a lot of they got good ball users. Even Rampy's a good user. Blakey if he plays. Roberts they're if Rowbottom sometimes plays off the halfback. Like they've got guys who can use the ball, and on that ground you can cut teams up really easily if you have the time and space. So if we just let guys roam through there like Bice and guys who can kick really well, we will be struggling. And it doesn't matter who's in your forward line if you're cutting teams up and you're using the ball well. You look at Collingwood. Sometimes if they're like a few men down, I hate bringing them up, but their ball use is so good. They only had 34 inside 50s and scored 90.
Yeah.
Like if we have 45 inside 50s, we're not even scoring that much. You know what I mean? So it's just a matter of that lowering the eyes and stuff like that. That's how good Sydney can be. So it's keeping tabs. Fogarty's a good one with that. Maybe he could play a little bit of a defensive role on Blakey, but yeah, my watch is Bice.
Yep, I do like it. And since he has kind of made his debut, I think he debuted against the Fremantle Dockers, I think. Maybe the week before that. But yeah, looking back with the amount of game time he's had in that halfback flank, and I think he's been really good for him. And I think he's kind of taken that role away from Matt Roberts, because I know that he was meant to be at the start of the year to be the main distributor, but I think they're kind of now just kind of halving it at the moment. So if you're going Bice, I'll go Roberts. I think they're probably the best ball users coming off the back line, but that's not even including Blakey. So I think Blakey kind of is unknown at the moment. So if he was to be playing, I think I would almost go Blakey. But right now, I'll probably stick with Roberts because I think he is still a threat, and I think he does play well at the SCG, so that could be another threat come this Friday, Daffy Boy. But let's now move on to the midfield opposition watch. There's still a few names that are missing in that midfield, as we've already touched on, Daffy Boy. But if you were to name one player from that midfield, who are you going with?
I'm going straight to the top. Well, pretty much the top. Isaac Heaney. He's a goal kicking forward. We've struggled to get a hold of the Swans at the SCG, especially when Heaney, Warner, the Warner goal comes up in my mind when he turned around and laughed at whoever it was.
Carroll.
Yes, that's right.
Fuck me.
That always, every time I think about the SCG, that moment just comes in my head. But yeah, Heaney for me, he'll go forward, so someone will have to do a job on him forward of the ball, because they almost have to roll him there. It's a bit like Dangerfield at Geelong. They kind of have to have him down there, especially with the key forwards they have out. So yeah, he's my watch, Heaney. I love the way he goes about it when at the top of his game. He's a classy footballer. He's strong at the contest, takes big grabs. He is the modern type midfielder, isn't he? I've loved his shift to the midfield rather than just playing at half forward, where I felt like he was wasted for years there.
Yeah, well, I know the past few weeks, I think it started when the Swans played against the Suns up in Gold Coast, and I know that ever since then he's played a lot, probably 75%, 25% forward. So he's pretty much played most of the game up forward. So, and it is a threat knowing that he can come into the midfield and make it detrimental impact. So
Mm.
I think that could be a worry. And I completely agree. I think he's probably one of the best midfielders or players in the competition right now. And as you said, he's definitely the modern type footballer at the moment. But the player I'll go with is Chad Warner. It's
Mm.
probably his, I guess, the Robin to Batman at the moment with Heaney at the
Yeah.
moment because there's no Gordon in there. There's no
Yeah. Yeah.
Mills. But I think I will go Warner. I think he's still such a threat, especially in the wet. And you mentioned there about that
Yeah.
goal when
Yeah.
he laughed at Buddy Carroll. That annoyed me. That still annoys me to this day when that happened. Oh, so bad. But I guess a quick mention about Warner. Do you think that could be a matchup come this week for Hewitt, or do you think Hewitt could even go to a Heaney, or do you think kind of the two balls in there, Rowbottom and Hewitt, could kind of be a matchup in itself?
Yeah, yeah. It's they've got to. The thing is, I think it's depending on what they throw at us. So if I'd imagine, who's the other midfielder? I've completely forgot his name. Jordan, James Jordan.
Yeah.
I'd imagine he goes to Cripps. He went straight to him last year, kept him to pretty low numbers. I don't think he got a vote in that game. I don't think any of our players deserved a vote in that game. But yeah, I'd imagine he goes to him. I'd imagine George does go to Warner. I don't think you can't. You can't really afford to not do it.
Yeah.
Just keep tabs on him. Like it was the same with Freo against Collingwood. They had to go to Dacos, and they did a really good job of it. They forced him out of the middle. That's often a big thing as well. So if you do end up tagging a guy like Warner or Heaney, and they're not getting much of it, they often like shift him forward. That's what you want to do. That is exactly what we want to do this week because I don't think their midfield depth against ours and our quality can match if they're, struggling. Like if Warner struggles or Heaney struggles and they're pushing them forward, that provides a huge opportunity in the middle to win balls out of the middle. So yeah, I think George goes to Chad.
So I think you may have mentioned it there. I didn't know if I caught it or not. But with Jordan, do you think that could be a matchup? And do you think he probably goes to Cripps?
Yeah, lock it in. I reckon lock it in. Him or Rowbottom, but I think it'll be Jordan.
Yeah, see, Rowbottom could be a matchup for Cripper. And then that's
Mm.
why with Jordan, I think that's when I was mentioning before we pressed record on the episode with
Yep.
Walshy, could put Jordan to
Yeah.
Walsh, or even Jordan to like a Sard. Like Sard's been playing quite
Yeah.
well
Yep.
off the halfback flank. So I think that could even be a matchup come this Friday. But I think you probably would lock in Jordan to Cripps. But yeah, if you put Rowbottom kind of a matchup with Cripper, Rowbottom to a Walsh, that kind of exploits. Then Hewitt as well. Hewitt kind of
Yeah.
opens up. Chera as well. We haven't even mentioned
Yeah.
Chera.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, there's still, I think, coming into the midfield battle, I think we should definitely be winning this. I know that they still have a few players
Yeah.
out,
Yeah.
but with the players that they have at the moment, we should definitely be winning the battle, Daffy Boy. But let's now move on to the forward line opposition watch, mate. We've mentioned already a few players are not in the forward line. We've actually mentioned a lot of players now for the
Yeah.
Swans.
Yeah.
I think right now we're kind of looking at the depth, and that's another reason as to why we're coming into this week very confident because
Mm.
we should be getting the job done against a team like this. And this is why it
Yeah.
makes me even more nervous because pressure
Yes.
kind of is on us. And if we
Yeah.
don't get the job done, you know that the media will be coming to us. So your forward line of opposition watch, mate, who are you going with?
I'm going straight to Will Hayward.
Yeah, love it.
He's one of my favourite non-Carlton players to watch. He is exciting. He provides energy. He kicks goals when you need him to kick goals. He kicked a ripper on the weekend in the last quarter, check side from 40 metres straight out in front. He's a good finisher. No wonder why we offered him 800k a year because he is one of those types of players and he would be perfect. He would be absolutely perfect in our forward line. But so be it. He's not there and we're playing against him this weekend. And without other key forwards, he has to take the reins and kick probably three or four to really get them into the game, in my opinion. If their mids aren't kicking goals,
Mm.
so yeah, he's a watch for me in terms of matchups. I don't know. I'd imagine Haynes
Gun?
maybe Gov on Hayward. He's taller than you think. He's taller than you think. He's 191, I think. So. 190 around there. So yeah, I think one of the mobile kind of interceptors can take him. Uh, Hamling and Francis, I'm not sure who takes what, but You still got to take them, don't you?
Mm. Looking at the lineup, I mean, I said Young, but I'm like, no, hang on. Young would definitely be going to like a Francis or Hamlin if he's even playing in the back line. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think Haynes could be the matchup for Haywood, and probably if Wiedering plays, Wiedering to
McLean.
Francis. Oh, McLean. Yeah, McLean's down
Yeah.
there.
Well, he's on the bench on their list from the weekend. I'm looking at. I keep forgetting he's on the bench. So yeah, he's another focal point.
Yeah, and that's why maybe you do play
Yeah.
Young in the back line as well for that extra height. But then we might be a little bit too tall.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know.
the thing.
I don't
That's
know.
the thing. You don't want to go into a game where they're undermanned forward of the ball, and they're going to be rolling midfielders through there, and we're too tall. Like that's my worry, and that's
Mm,
my worry for the rest of the season, especially when Newman. I know Newman's not tall, but when he's in the team, he can also match up on those little bit taller players. So, and that's that's a coaching thing. How do they roll the dice? Do they push someone higher up the ground? You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Do they push McGovern up higher later in the year because he has the ability to do so? So,
mm.
I'm not saying I want him out of the defense, but I'm not sure how they're going to fit four of those guys in, and they might find a way to do so. But it just worries me because I just think the modern game at the moment is really focused on the small forwards impact.
Yeah, completely agree. Hit the nail on the head, David Boy, as you always do. But yeah, I'm going a bit of a cheat code here with the
Yeah,
full line opposition watch.
yep,
I'll go Isaac Heaney.
yeah, okay.
Um, I think there's
He's found a loophole, Pato.
we we love a loophole here on Bag of Chat, David Boy. But yeah, I'll go Heaney. It's more because I don't think there's any other threats down there in the forward line, and that might come back to bite
Mm.
me in the bum. I don't really care
Yeah, yeah,
because I think everyone is saying that the Sydney's forward line is a huge
yeah,
issue, and that's why you probably could even put Wiedering to a Haywood. Haywood isn't small, and
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
kind of
Because
lock him up.
there was certain times on the weekend where Wiedering took a smaller player. He
Yeah,
took
he did.
Owens. He took Owens. So at the start of the game, he had Caminiti, and then someone else switched on to Caminiti, and I've noticed it off one of the bounces, and Wiedering went straight to Owens. And then at one point, he was actually on Higgins at one of the bounces. It was because I think it was more of an intercept option,
Yeah,
knowing that he can kind of fly off. That's what I mean. That's so important to have him playing this week. Like if he's on Francis or Hamling, he can float off those guys. Like
yeah,
that's the thing. Like that's the impact he has. He took 14 marks. 14 of those marks are in his hands, not in their hands.
yeah.
Like that's so crucial. And I know, Young and stuff can do that. But Wiedering is just that stable in defence, isn't he? And I hope the week break, and I think the week break would hold him in good stead. It wasn't like he had an injury, but he just looked a little bit, he wasn't
Not
off the
right.
mark as quick as he usually is.
Mm. Yeah, I'm just looking at that forward line again. I was like, I don't know if
Come
there's
on.
really real
Oh,
threats down there. And yeah, I think overall that Haywood's the real threat, but
yeah,
maybe you have to
yeah,
play Heaney up forward more.
yeah,
And I feel like if Heaney is playing up forward, what do you think that matchup will be? Probably
yeah,
Haynes.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, Haynes. Depends where he's playing. If he's playing deeper, you might even go a Sauce. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like you
so
want
yeah,
sometimes you like Heaney. If he goes forward, he's probably their best forward.
100%.
So you probably put the best defender on him. So it's going to be an interesting watch, especially with the conditions as well. And if McGovern gets up, that changes the whole look as well. So yeah, it's just one of those games. I just want to fast forward to 10:30 on Friday and know the result.
And they'll be like, "Oh shit, we lost by 3 points.
Oh
Let's move on."
God.
But yeah, I'm kind of looking at it more as like potentially that's why Heaney's my forward line opposition watch because I
Yep.
think he can be such a threat up
Yeah.
forward. So I think if that was to happen and Heaney was to play a little bit more up forward, I think you'd probably put Wiener into a Haywood.
Yeah.
Then you
Yeah.
got I
Yeah.
just
That's the
don't
thing.
know.
McLean. Then you got McLean.
Yeah, McLean as well. Yeah, I keep
Yeah. So
thinking
do you go Sauce to Hayward? It's so the lucky thing is we have the ability
so.
to cover
Yeah,
all of them.
yeah.
That's the positive I'm taking out.
Yeah, exactly right. But Duff Boy, let's now move on to our
Yes.
last segment of
Here
the
we
night.
go.
Probably we say it a bit, it's very highly anticipated, but we're heading into this week slightly confident. I feel like we both probably will go with the same decision. Duff Boy, dare
Yes.
I say it?
Yeah.
But for the people who don't know what we do for the match predictions, we go through bag of the game, which is pretty much the best play come this Friday for the Carlton Football Club. Point of difference, self-explanatory, and winner plus margin Daffy boy. So I'll throw straight to you. Match predictions: Carlton v Sydney, 7:30 at the SCG, Friday, 16th of March. Don't know what else to say. Matty Cottrell's
16th of May, you bloody idiot.
Oh, 16th of May, bloody hell. Corey Durden's 18th game. What have you got?
Oh, Jesus. Joel Hamling, second game up forward. Joel Hamling. Fuck me dead. He better be. I'm going to say this right now, just before I do the predictions. If he is suiting up forward to the ball and we lose, we are done. We are cooked.
Sam Wicks. Sammy.
Anyway, let's get to the predictions. Before we start, pot shotting every one of their players.
Yeah.
Ben Patton, yeah. Best on ground. He's building. He was good on the weekend, I thought. Very good on the weekend. And I got a feel. Do you reckon you know who I'm talking about?
Walshy?
Nah.
Ooh.
Nah. He's due for a bag.
Building.
He's due for a big.
Oh, Charlie.
He's due for a big bag, and it was almost there on the. I thought he was very good on the weekend. He was just presenting. His pressure was a little bit better as well. Getting a little bit more to the fall of the ball. I know that's not his role, but sometimes he just lacks in that area. But
how many?
6 goals. I think they're just a little bit all over the place, key position wise. I know McCartan and Rampy are very good, so they both can cover Mackay and Curnow.
Yep.
But I just think they're a little bit all over the joint. If we get off to a hot start, they might go, we need to win this game, put McCartan forward, and then it all starts shifting. We put Hamling back, and you know what I mean? Look, it's so hard to do that when there's 2 key pillars down there that are in good form. So I almost said Harry for best on, but Charlie last week when he's kicking those goals from 50, he's leading up at the footy and we're hitting him up, Patto. That's when I'm going, come on. That is Charlie Curnow football, leading up at the football. Those easy ones, 30 out, pop that in, put that in the book. What's the next one? Point of difference. I've only done this about 1 million times, but I'm an absolute shambles at the moment. Point of difference. Thought he was the point of difference outlet. Lewis Young.
You like it?
Lewis Young. I don't know where he's going to end up playing. I'd imagine he'd be forward, unless Wiedering isn't playing or whatever. He just for me the one that taught me the most about his game was the one where he crumbed the pack and snapped a goal.
Give the goal.
I could not believe it. I was like. I'm not, he's been great. I'm not having pot shot, but he's 200 centimeters.
Yeah,
doing that kind of stuff, and that is an asset to have, especially against a team like we've been banging on about. They're structurally all over the place with their outs. So yeah, Lewis Young, and winner plus margin. It really is making me nervous because I'm heading off to Sydney on Wednesday, and I'm going to be thinking about the game for 3 days while I'm there. I'll be walking across the Harbour Bridge, not even caring about the Harbour Bridge. I'll be caring about what the matchups are going to be fucking like on Friday night.
I'll be worrying about if Joel Hamling's playing forward or back.
Thinking about how many touches Lewis Young's going to get. That is the level of nuffy we have reached. But I wouldn't change a thing. But winning plus margin, I think they're going to battle us for the first half of the game. I think we'll be winning at halftime by a couple goals. And I think the third quarter is going to be we're going to break it open in the third quarter, and I'll be in full voice at the SCG, and we will go out as winners by 38 points at the SCG. I think it's a high-scoring ground if it opens up.
Yeah.
Only if it opens up. If Sydney don't allow that to happen, then it might be a little bit closer. But 38 points. Charlie kicks a bag. 5-5. We head to the Giants. Nick Haynes takes 58 marks against the Giants, and we head into is it the bye after that?
Yeah.
Bye after that, and then we can put the feet up against Essendon on the Queen's birthday eve.
I can't wait for this week's game with Lewis Young's 31st game for the.
I did check that the other day. I think he's played a solid amount.
Yeah,
now
probably.
at Carlton. Surely he's played. How many has he played? Do you reckon?
73.
Yeah,
that's what he's got.
73 total.
That's
how many at Carlton?
Oh, Carlton came in 2022, maybe 32.
No, he's past the 50. So I think I've gone on Wikipedia, which is a mistake. I should have gone to AFL tables. It's only updated since round 6, and he was on 49 games. So he's in the early 50s at Carlton. He played 24 at the Dogs, and he's played about 50-something at the Carlton. So, he's been at Carlton this is his 22, 23, 24. This is his 4th season at Carlton. Time flies. He was a young fella at Carlton when he started. He's 26 now. He was 23 when we picked him up. So, it's Lewis Young kicking a bag at the SCG. That's what this game's got a good ring about it.
Yeah, well, who knows, mate? We might make this into a segment, and we might find out how many Carlton games Lockie Fogarty's played for other club. But let's move on. Hang on, I haven't even done my match predictions. Hang on. So I was going to say let's wrap up the episode of that for you. But my best on ground, I changed it last minute. It was kind of a laid out, just like Jaden Short on the weekend for the Tiggy Tigers. Late change, best on ground, Adam Chera.
Yep.
I had Walshy. I'm thinking James Jordan is going to go to Walshy.
Yes,
that's my gut feel.
I like it.
Chera opens up. The midfield isn't looking great. They've got Justin McInerney playing in the midfield, and he simply could have won them the game single-handedly on the weekend, and he missed like 2, pretty much directly in front. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing?
I'll tell you what, he loves a goal, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he loves that over celebration, and he does it against us every fucking time. Yep. So can someone just put their fucking shoulder through his chest in the first quarter? That's all I want to see. I don't want to see any fucking TikTok dances.
TikTok.
How is you picking Adam Chera for the best on ground led to me talking about putting a shoulder through Justin McInerney's chest? He's just one of those guys.
Oh, TikTok dances.
We're an absolute shambles. If you're listening to it on the podcast, we're just a shambles.
You probably know if you're a fan of Bag Chat and you've been watching us for years. It probably gets to this this point in time in the episode where we kind of do go a bit off the rails here, Duff Boy. But yeah, best on ground, Adam Chow, and I feel like he's going to be the guy that's going to give Justin McInerney a bit of a TikTok dance to himself, mate. But let's go point of difference. I'm going to go Cooper Lord.
Oh, yes.
I like if he was to play a full game in the fucking seniors, Cooper Lord. He's going to give Buddy Nick Blakey a bit of a bit of lip. So yeah, I want to see him get a full game, and if he does get a full game, I think he'll be the point of difference. Daffy boy, winner plus. Still thinking about it.
Cooper Lord's going to give Nick Blakey lip.
I don't reckon I've heard a single word come out of his mouth before. Cooper Lord.
The fact is, he's not going to give bloody Nick Blakey lip. Nick Blakey's going to be sitting up in the box.
Good point. Actually, no. He will look up to Nick Blakey and be like, "Fuck you, mate." Point at him. Winner plus margin, Duff boy. I'm going to go with the Carlton Football Club. Quite confident.
Yep, love it.
19-point win.
Yep.
I just think it's going to be... Yeah. I think we're just going to have that lead for the whole game. I think we're going to start well. We're going to kick 3 to 4. They might get one back. We'll kick one back. We might get 2 in a row. They might get 2 in a row. I just feel like it's going to be like this margin for most of the game. I feel like it might be dry for the start of the game, then it might start to pitch. So that's why we can get ahead early and try and put the pressure on the Swans, especially since we're playing away. So,
Yep.
I want to see us start well, and hopefully, if we do start well and play well for the rest of the game, we can win the game, and hopefully that will be by 19 points. But I would also love if we were to win by 38, as well as you said. But Dave Boyd, before we wrap up the episode, is there anything else you would like to touch on before we head on? I guess look towards Friday night.
Yeah, and I'm excited. Another Friday night game. I said it. We've played this game every single year, and we fuck it up big time. We fuck it up big time. So let's get it done. Get some confidence into this next month of footy because it is doable. It is doable, and 4 and 6 is going to be dangerous heading into the Giants because you're on the burst of laughing. I can tell. We've got the giggles. We've got to the stage where we're talking about Cooper Lord giving lip to Nick Blakey and Adam Chera all of a sudden turning into Macho Man and putting his shoulder through Justin McInerney. So no, seriously, let's just get it done. And just get some positivity. There's still too much negativity. Let's support them. Let's get through this week. Saturday, 12:30 next week, start at Marvel Stadium, a very early start. So no sleep-ins on Saturday next week. But let's beat the Swans. Let's break a little bit of the hoodoo. And if anyone sees, if we kick a goal in the pocket where the Carlton supporters are, and if you see an absolute idiot going off his mind, it probably most likely will be me. So I just, I went a little bit too hard last week in the Saints game for the Harry goal. I celebrated like I kicked the goal. I'm sure a lot of people did. Yeah. Sometimes when it's those goals, and it's just like, come on. So let's hopefully another few good moments, and we need an interstate win. That is a good sign. That's a sign of a good team, in my opinion, when you can get interstate wins on the board.
Is our only in-state game that we've played in so far Adelaide? Oh, in West Coast. In West Coast.
Yeah.
I don't count West Coast, though.
Yeah. And that wasn't even in West Coast either.
Yeah.
That was bloody Adelaide Oval. So, yeah, Adelaide is the only interstate game we've had.
Yeah, well. But, yeah, I'm going to be looking forward to when I look over to the Carlton cheer squad and see the Duffy family in ponchos, mate, when it's absolutely pissing down out the SC.
I was thinking I should get a big sign in the cheer squad baggers chat. Did you imagine that? Charlie kicks goal a year and they pan to the thing. It's just subscribe to baggers chat.
That would be, imagine that. Or you could say, shout out Cooper Lord.
Cooper Lord's giving a bit of lip to Blakey.
Right. We're at the point. Yep. At the point in time, Daffy Boy, where we probably should wrap it up before it gets a little bit more silly. But to every single boy bagger out there, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel. Also, make sure to check out our podcast platforms, whether it's Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music as well. If you want to listen to the audio version, if you're going on a walk or a car drive, or you're even watching some TikTok dances, Daft Boy, and you want to put on a podcast in the background, make sure to listen to the audio version for our podcast, but also check out our socials, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. There's so many out there, Daft Boy, so make sure to check them out. But to you, Daffy Boy, get it fucking done. Just get it done. That's all I ask. But as you said as well, I think just that's all I ask.
Yeah,
just go out there
and intent. That like the game of the weekend. Perfect.
Yeah. But to you, Duffy Boy, and to every single blue bagger out there. The baggers.